Today we're going to talk about overcoming adversity. I think I called it overcoming unexpected adversity to create success. I'm going to tell you two true stories. One is personal and one is business. Both have happened to me. Both I'm coming out of. And along the way, I'm going to show you some steps on how I did it. So the first thing I'm going to say is when something happens unexpectedly in your life that creates adversity, loss of a job, death of a loved one, we can list them, right? COVID locking us in our houses for a year and a half. Our first instinct is to force against the adversity. No, this can't be happening. No. Seeing, the bag and the groceries just roll out and try and scramble. And I've been guilty of doing that too. But that doesn't help whatsoever. So let me tell you my two stories. And then I'm going to tell you what I did. And I might blend a little bit. So the first story happened to me 4.5 years ago. I was in the middle of my move to Las Vegas from Northern California. I had a U-Haul with all of my favorite kitchen stuff because I'm a chef, half of my office, half of my clothes, my cats, and my car. And it took me, I think, 3 days to get here because my cats turn out don't like driving in U-Hauls. Long story short, I had left the house and my things behind. My partner was supposed to meet me in Las Vegas. Long story short, I got catfished, wiped out my accounts, owed me a ton of money that I'd loaned him during our relationship because he was building this company. He took off and ran away to Bali. So I ended up on Boulder Highway, which is Skid Row, in a weekly hotel with about $10,000 worth of equipment, 2 cats, and despair. I thought it was over. I was calling everybody I knew. Could you loan me some money? This is what's happening. And what you don't know is I had spent 20 years in mental health working with homeless mentally ill offenders. And so all of a sudden I'm surrounded by them and the prostitutes. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So what I actually did was fight against it, feel sorry for myself, rage against it, blame everybody, blame him, cry a lot, right? You guys have been there. And then I was able to change that and turn it around. I wrote a bestseller and 6 cookbooks in 4 years. And I live in a nice apartment in Green Valley, which is where I wanted to live. And I'm doing much better. But at first, that was my adversary. And I railed and I blamed and it didn't work. So let's tell this part of the second story. And then we're going to go through steps on how to change it without driving yourself crazy. Second story. So my social media presence is amazing. I've got about 143,000 followers on my foodie page, which is gluten, sugar, dairy free. So I teach how to make food without gluten, refined sugar, dairy, or soy. I had to teach classes. I make recipes, cookbooks, blah, blah, blah. And my page was doing great. I had a huge support group of about 800 people that I was helping. I had my recipe testers groups. I've been on Facebook since 2008 when it first happened. So I had lots of my business contacts in there. I talk to most people through Messenger because I'm not a phone person unless I'm coaching. And things are going really well. I started affiliate marketing, which meant products that I actually used, I could sell to my clients at a discount, and I would make some money off of it. So I had the other source of income. Things were looking great, and all of a sudden, in September last year, I got hacked. I clicked a link. I got a message. It looked like it said it was from Facebook that one of my pictures went against copyright laws. And of course, I freaked out, clicked it without looking. If I had looked, I would have seen that there were 36 people that this was being sent to and that it wasn't Facebook. They immediately deleted my profile. They took over my fan pages. They took over all my groups and they blocked me out. Then they started posting videos that I would never post. And now my audience, I can't access them. This went on until June. So in the beginning, I'm freaking out. Right now would be a great time for my business to work because people are stuck at home because of COVID and they need help cooking, quick meal ideas, budget meal ideas. But I have no access to my audience. So again, I railed, I cried, I screamed, I fought. I sent Facebook and notice every single day, sometimes twice a day. They would reply they're working on it. So finally in June, we have a solution. They had to delete my fan page and all my groups, and they couldn't get back my profile. And here's the sad thing, is all those friendships and business associates that I had met through Facebook, I never kept a log outside of Facebook. I had all my eggs in one basket. So now I'm not good with names. I'm like that lady I love. I miss her so much. What's her name? And I can't find her. So now I have nothing. So then I am upset and I'm angry and I've decided Facebook has ruined my business. Then I took a step back and I'm rebuilding. And I think I'm at 1,000 on my fan page and I've got 100 in my support group. But all of a sudden, the audience changed. They're very nice. They're easy to work with. So in the end, it really worked out. Point of my two stories were both times I thought it was the end of the line for me. Like, what am I going to possibly do or achieve? The second thing was complete shame and embarrassment. I was so embarrassed that I let a man make me feel so stupid to allow him to take away my life savings. I mean, I was set. I felt so stupid that I clicked a link that allowed hackers to take away my life's work. So shame and guilt. No one's shaming me. No one's guilting me. I am. I'm my own worst enemy. And I teach this in my coaching programs. Listen to how you talk to yourself. Would you talk to a loved one that way? Well, let me tell you, I was horrible to myself, and that doesn't do any good. So I had to step back both occasions. The first thing, and there's going to be a landing page I made for you guys that you can go to where I've put all the steps for you. I also have a workbook for you, and I'm offering you a free coaching problem solution call, but we'll get into that later. So I made this page for you with some of the basic steps. And the first one sounds really silly, but it's super important. So something bad has happened, right? Something has happened in your life. Grieve. Let it go. It's a loss. I lost most of my belongings. I lost the man I thought I loved. I lost a lot of my friends. I lost my financial freedom. I lost my social media reach. I lost a lot of customers. I lost a lot of friends. Grieve. Let it out. Let that energy out. It's okay. It's not silly. You know, at first I was sitting there crying and I'm like, this is so silly. And I'm trying to stop myself. And it's not. It's like, that's a real emotion. That's a real loss. Even though it's not tangible. Like, I can't touch my Facebook group. It still affected my heart. It affected my heart with the friendships that I had made over the years on Facebook that I have no idea what their names are because I didn't keep a log. It's a loss. If you can get the grieving process through and go ahead and grieve, go through the, it'll come back or whatever you need to do, let that energy go, then you're ready to do the next step. Next step is a little crazy. It sounds, when I told my client, I had a client, I told her this was her next step. She told me, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Michelle. But she proceeded to do that with every homework I gave her until she was like, okay, I understand it. I get it now. So now that you've grieved, I mean, I'm still grieving the loss of the friends, the connections, and the fact that I didn't have their names and emails and phone numbers outside of Facebook, that I put all my eggs in that basket. I'm still grieving that I put all my eggs in that basket with that man. But I'm also grateful. So step 2 is gratitude. Years ago, I had been severely beaten and all my ribs were broken and my brain was damaged. And my mentor told me, now you need to get grateful. And I'm just like, are you insane? And I'm laying in my bed in so much pain. And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll try it. I'm grateful for doorknobs. I'm grateful I have a pillow. I'm grateful for my cats. But I wasn't owning it. And so she stepped it up so that every day I had to do 5 different gratitudes. And at first, it didn't seem to make sense. But the more you're grateful for what you have, the more abundance you create. It's not magic. It's just like the law of life. So I started to get really grateful and notice things like I'm taking a walk outside and there's just this one pink flower. And I'm like, hey, that's my little miracle for the day. I'm grateful for that pink flower. The more you do it, the more you get grateful, the more you realize what you have, you start to attract more in. But you have to believe it. That's the thing. You can't just pretend. Like in me in the beginning, it didn't do any good. For the first 2 weeks, nothing changed because I wasn't owning it. But I'm even grateful for my grief. It makes me feel, but it also makes me think like, oh, maybe there's a reason for this. Maybe there's a reason this happened. So for example, losing everything and having to rebuild, I was taking my sweet time writing my first cookbook. I had all the time in the world. There was no financial pressure. All of a sudden, I had financial pressure. I had to think outside the box. I had to get creative. I got inspired. It was easy. I started asking the audience, what do you want? Oh, you want 5-ingredient recipes? Fine. Slow cooker? Great. Oh, vegan. All right, that's a challenge. I'll take it on. I actually grew more as a person, woke up happier, more inspired, and ended up living in a place I never thought I'd live in. I actually live in a 55 and older retirement, and 10% can be under, so I was able to get in. Most of my neighbors are 75 and older. The benefit, no screaming children, no fighting couples. Very rarely is there someone in a huge giant pool or jacuzzi. The gym is mostly empty, and when you do see people, they're very nice, but they're not intrusive. I would have ended up in a condo. I would have ended up hearing children screaming, people fighting. So this happened for a reason. Same with my business. I realized everything was in one basket, and I was dependent on that basket instead of being dependent on me. And it also gave me a chance, like, is this where most of my passion is in the food, or is it in my coaching? My passion is my coaching, especially during COVID when people were locked inside. I looked forward to every client call. I cheered with my clients. I cried with my clients. I get so much gratification seeing their growth. So everything happens. I know they say it as for a reason, but it does. But it's how you adjust to it. So that takes us to step 3. How am I doing on time? Okay, I'm just checking because I don't want to run out. Step 3 is, all right, so now you know, shit hit the fan. Sorry for my language. It sucks. I've cried. Now what? Make a plan. What are you passionate about? What are you good at doing? And that's, a great question. Like, what do you do without even thinking about it? If you ask your friends, what would they say you were good at? What brings you joy? Okay, so now you have a little bit of a picture, right? So now you're going to break it into steps. And I call them baby steps. It comes from this movie, What About Bob, with Richard Dreyfuss. It's hysterical. And Bill Murray. And he's like, psychiatrist is Richard Dreyfuss, and Bill Murray just like has to take his goldfish everywhere, and he's scared to go out in the world. And Richard Dreyfuss writes a book called Baby Steps, just do a piece at a time. So I teach this in my coaching also. So make your goal. Break it down into steps, then break those down into steps, and break those down into steps. Okay? So then you do your first baby steps, which gets you to your first part of your goal. And it's easier because it's not intimidating. We don't get overwhelmed. If we just try to shoot for the big goal, then a lot of times we get halfway there and we just give up and walk away. This makes sure you don't, keeps you invested. Then you need to celebrate every time you meet one of your goals on the way along your plan. Celebrate it. I had one client who had struggled celebrating, so I used to make her put on the song Celebration and dance around her office. She actually called me for coaching during the COVID for some help finding a new job, and she said she still does it. She was so uncomfortable 10 years ago, but she still does it today. So celebrate it. So your body starts to get to know, like, wow, when I do good, I feel good, and then you start to get really excited about what you're doing. These things are so simple, but they're really the backbone of everything. I'm not saying it bites when adversity hits. It does. Do I wish I had lost my profile page? Absolutely not. That I lost my advertising? No. But it's also got me thinking, like, I spent a lot of time on social media. I spent 2 hours a day just answering people's questions for free all day long. It was exhausting. I was attacked constantly. The bigger my page got, the more they would attack me. Oh, you're a health coach? You don't look healthy. Great, thank you. I know I used to weigh over 5 pounds. Now I weigh under 300, but yeah, that helps. The point is, it had become so that it was more of a job than it was a passion. It became less fun. Now I'm back to it being fun. I'm getting a lot of new people coming in that they're just starting this journey and they're excited about learning and they need the tips and the meal planning. That I like. That piece of it I'll keep. But I'm going to transfer it more into coaching. So as I'm helping them, I'm coaching them as well because everything is connected. So if you get your food right, but you don't have your mindset right, it's not going to work. If you've got your food right, your mindset right, but your career's wrong, it's not going to work. So it's all together. So I'm just readjusting and noticing. I guess I call them signs. Like I believe that I see signs like, this is the way to go. So the other day, every day I go outside certain times of the day for a certain amount of time. So I don't stay inside all day because I tend to do that. So for the last couple days, I go out in the morning and there is this hummingbird that just buzzes my ear, the back of my head, my ear, and the circles my head and flies off. And I'm like looking at what that means. It means new beginnings. It means finding your joy. It means you know what you're doing. And I'm like, I want to see this hummingbird. And yesterday morning, I was sitting really still as it was doing its thing. And then it flew up in front of me. And it was a brown hummingbird. So it meant it was a female because the males have all the beautiful colors. And she was just looking at me. And I was like, well, this is a heck of a sign. I mean, you can't miss this one, Michelle. So I thought, I got to really think about like what is like a hummingbird. A hummingbird, like it brings joy. It does this, it does that. And so for me, that was my touchstone. But you'll find your own touchstones. So to answer the question, no. The gentleman who helped me get into financial dire straits has not been prosecuted, but he is on the lam in Bali because a couple of years ago, he didn't renew his visa, so if he's caught, he does 20 years. So we'll let karma deal with that. The scammers that took over my things, were they caught? No, but they'll have their karma on that end. What gifts did I get out of this? So that's another step. I had a mentor years ago say, look for the gold. Olympics started today. I'm saying, look for the gold. I'm sorry, I cracked myself up. So look for the gold. What did I learn? What can I take from this? And what can I grow on top of this? Because in every difficult situation, something good can come from it. For example, you know this as well as I do, but coal turns into a diamond. So this has been a really struggling 6 months for me, but it's coming out the other end and it's shiny. That I can do this as well. I'm going to just change my direction. I'm going to do my focus. What brings me joy to get up in the morning? What would I do every day if I didn't need to get paid? And focus on that, incorporating more of that in my life. My passion is helping people through their obstacles and helping people see their strengths and adjusting their weaknesses. I never say, oh, we're going to change all your bad habits. The reason being is we created those habits for a reason, right? But if we start doing things that work better for us, we sort of stop doing the bad habits anyway. And I love teaching people tools. Sorry, my cat's down here. She wants to play. Tools on how to manage it. So that's why, there's cat. So that's why I set up systems and steps. And so, yes, you had something that happened and maybe it really bit hard. And maybe you thought that that's the end, you can't pull out of it. You're done, You can stay and wallow in that or grieve the loss, find the gold, make a plan, get in touch with your joy. It's not easy. I mean, when I lost everything, I was shopping at the 99-cent store for most of my food. I lived on rice and beans for 2 years with limited vegetables as I'm writing these amazing recipes. I was putting apps on my browser to earn points towards Amazon gift cards so I could buy the cat food. I was thinking outside the box on how to do things, but as long as I had a plan and I kept moving forward, progress was being made. It was slow at first, oh, definitely. And in fact, I wrote my bestseller before I ever came here. I didn't expect it to be a bestseller. It just happened overnight, which was really crazy because I have to be honest, I can't spell. And I published myself. There are misspellings in it. But when I lost everything, I was in that dark hotel room and thinking, I don't have anything. I kept hearing, you've got everything you need. I'm like, no, I don't. Yes, you do. And I realized I had enough recipes on my website to create a cookbook. But I didn't have the money to publish the cookbook. So I pre-sold the cookbook at a discounted rate. People bought it. That allowed me to publish it and ship it out. And then that got me enough money to move here. Now, all the cookbooks I write now, those recipes aren't on the website. They're free recipes on the website, and then people buy the cookbooks for recipes that aren't there. Long story short. But I found a way by thinking outside the box. And then, like, how does this make me feel to do? Is this enjoyable? And then I started to get energy from my audience. They loved the work I was doing. How can I help them back? I was speaking at women's conferences before COVID hit, and this one lady came up to me and she said, "You're the only one that didn't have a PowerPoint. You're the only one that didn't wear shoes. You're the only one that went around in circles, but you're the only one that gets me." And so for me, that was huge. That was huge. I'm like, this is my purpose. Okay, this is where we go. So if you are facing an adversary, take a moment, grieve. It's a loss. Whether it be minor or huge, a loss is a loss. And then get grateful, because you still have something. Even if, let's just use your imagination, you don't have a house, you don't have clothes, you're butt naked in the desert, you still are living. Okay, that's pretty dramatic. That's pretty silly, actually. But the point is, you have something to be grateful for. Find it. Then build on it. What else are you grateful for? What else are you grateful for? Start creating that abundance and that gratitude. When you come from a place of gratitude, it's the opposite of scarcity. It's the opposite of all those commercials that you see online and on TV making you want and need things you don't need or want, making you feel less than because she looks great in heels and you hate heels, or you don't dye your hair anymore, you've got gray, and oh my God, no one else does. Stop all that noise. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful that I still have hair. I'm grateful I'm not spending a ton of money at a salon to get it fixed. And I'm grateful I'm focusing on what makes me happy. So what are you grateful for? What brings you joy? I say this, and every time I talk, as far as I know, we're given one life. That's it. Now, if I'm wrong and we get reincarnated, I will do such a better job. I know the lay of the land, but we get one. So if you're not doing what brings you passion now, when will you? If you're blaming everybody and still in this isn't fair, you're wasting time. I know that's harsh, but you're wasting your time. That clock is ticking, and we don't know when the timer's going to go off. I have no idea how old I'm going to live to be. No idea. But when I went to bed last night, I was happy. When I woke up this morning, I was happy. And that's more important than anything right now to me. I could have buckets of money and be unhappy, or I could be following my passion and my dream. So if you're watching this, maybe this is a sign for you to take a look where you aren't happy, or where there's an adversity, or where something's not going right. Flip it around and make a change, and do something that makes you happy. It makes a difference in your world. Because if it makes a difference in your world, there's a very good chance it makes a difference in someone else's world too. So I have created for you a landing page on my website, bestlifechanges.com, and I have put 4 of the golden rules on there. I did not write about finding the gold. I'll add that. But I'm also giving you a 14-day guided workbook that I give my clients. They do it for 90 days. You have AM and PM questions. And the reason is you start to really realize what you're grateful for. You start to pay attention to the voice in your head, and you start to move forward. There's also a food diary on there too, because I believe in, how we eat, what we put in our body, affects everything else, even though I'm not the poster child of it. I do it. And at the end of 14 days, you will have made progress with it. I'm also gifting you a free, no strings tied problem solution coaching call. Bring me the problem. We'll put a plan together. You walk away with a plan. I will not try and sell you my programs. I will not try and sell you my coaching. If you choose and want to coach with me, I put a coupon down there for you for an extra 10% off. But the call is coaching, not sales. I'm not going to waste your time or my time. My passion is helping people, and I love when I can give you a plan to start moving forward for what works for you. Because Everybody's different, and that's okay. But as long as you're following your passion, you feel good about what you're doing, and at the end of the night, you feel like you made a difference and that you're grateful, then you're doing it right. So again, if you have adversity, go ahead and grieve. Get it out of your system. Step into gratitude. Make a plan. Celebrate your goals and look for the gold. What did you learn about yourself, about what you were doing, and what do you want to do differently? So for me, I have a new profile on Facebook, but I now am keeping a ledger of my friends. And it's like when Lisa invited me to do this, she said, hey, where are you? Are you okay? And I've been looking for her, but I couldn't remember the name Lisa. So I now have a list of my friends and how to contact them. I learned my lesson. I also learned I didn't need to be on Facebook as much, that the world keeps going whether you're on it or not. I learned that the news feed causes me extreme stress and that it's not healthy for me, so I don't really look at it very often. I learned that I like more music and joy in my life. So I'm a fan of TikTok and things that touch my heart or make me laugh. I finally got an Alexa, so I play music in the house, which I hadn't because I was too busy working on Facebook and having to be online. So in the end, I was wasting a lot of my time and didn't even realize it because it felt like I had a purpose. But was it the right purpose for me? Obviously not, or this wouldn't have happened, really. I mean, I have no intention of rebuilding my gluten, sugar, dairy-free lifestyle as big as it was. I don't. I love that. It is my hobby, but my passion is my coaching. My passion is my writing. My passion is my speaking. So I'm going to spend a little more time over there because I get much more fulfillment when I help a client through a crisis, or I help them to grow, or I help them to redesign their life. For me, it feels a lot better than selling a couple cookbooks, though I like selling the cookbooks too, don't get me wrong. But yes, I was upset. I was devastated. I thought, oh, how could this happen to me again? Woe is me. Poor me, I'm a victim. This isn't my fault. That didn't get me anywhere. When I sat down, like, what am I noticing that I like about this new situation? What is bringing me joy? How can I have more of that? Where's my next turn in this stream of life? And we're allowed to change direction. We're allowed to say, you know what, that job, I'm not going back to it. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for my loved ones. Yes, this is scary. I am going to miss the routine, but I'm going to bend this way. And we have the right to do that. Now, if we get reincarnated and I was wrong, I apologize, but boy, you've got some great tools, don't you? Now you've got some great tools to use for that next life. But seriously, respect the time that you have here. Respect your desires, your passions, and your abilities. Turn out the noise and really figure out, like, what are you really good at and what brings you passion, and create more of that. Be more. And you'll have a great story to tell about your adversity and how you overcame it. Like that, right? I mean, my adversity stories are pretty dramatic. I get it. I was catfished. I got scammed. I'm not stupid by any means whatsoever, but those happened to me. And that shame that I told you about, that was self-imposed shame. No one else was thinking that I should be shamed because I didn't do it. Yeah, well, I clicked a button, but I didn't create the mess. The mess happened. And putting myself through guilt and shame doesn't do any good. So shake that off. And I am grateful. I am grateful for where I live. I mean, I never thought I'd want to live in an apartment. Like, for me, I thought that's just too weird. I loved downsizing. I've gone the minimalist style. There's less stress and less stuff to dust. And my neighbors are nice and quiet. I get the pool to myself. My cats are happy. And I never knew I'd want to be living in 800 square feet. I came from a giant house in California. So some of these adversities might actually be blessings, but you just can't see it until after you grieve it and go into gratitude.